Thank you all so very much for joining me here today. I know that often when you're doing your makeup, you typically don't have much time, do you? You have to rush through it, and when you do, your makeup quickly crumbles, and the final look can be disappointing. So today, I'm going to share some useful tips that will dramatically improve your makeup quality, making it look neater and prettier, even when you're in a hurry. Just follow a few of these, and your results will change. And everyone's makeup routine is different, you know. Some routines might be more intricate and others less so. You don't need to try every single tip I demonstrate today. Simply select those that suit your needs. If you think something's a hassle, just skip it. Alright, let's get started. Let's go! Okay. First, I'll show you the base makeup. When we're busy, we just quickly pat on our cushion foundation, right? But even if you're applying it quickly, there are areas to apply thinly. There are frequently moving areas on your face. Since I'm talking, the mouth and smile lines move a lot. We blink our eyes and some get smile lines around them when they laugh. These outer eye corners also move, and if base makeup is just slapped on, it crumbles by afternoon. When makeup crumbles, it's typically in thin skin areas. If you apply foundation thickly on thin areas with lots of muscle movement, your skin can't hold up and it all breaks down by afternoon. It's not 100% the case, but there's a high chance the thicker parts of your cheeks won't get cakey. Of course, if you have breakouts or dry patches, it might, but your smile lines, mouth and under eyes will likely crease first. It settles into lines and your oily nose might cause makeup to break down. Go ahead and touch it. There's not much fatty tissue. It's a very thin area. So even if you have to rush your base makeup, just applying it thinly on these parts will definitely make your makeup break down less. I'll be using Wake Make Coating Balm, but feel free to use your own product. First, take some cushion foundation on your makeup puff, then apply it to the thicker areas of your skin. The base makeup needs to begin from your V-zone, so make sure to apply it to your V-zone as the first step. I've applied less to the center of my forehead. Next, I've applied it to the front of the cheeks, chin, and nose. Since there's still quite a bit of product remaining, I'll lightly dab some off. And then by tapping, I'll concentrate solely on the V-zone first. People often shift towards the smile lines when applying. Patting there too much will cause product buildup and 100% creasing. For now, focus only on the V-zone. Then forehead. You need to follow this order. Apply it first to the areas where you can put more product. As you do this, you use up the product on the puff. Keep reducing the amount, then apply to thin areas for automatic control. Then, less product is used. If your pores are large on your front cheeks like mine, gently swipe it on like this. You'll want to swipe it gently to fill in the pores, then lightly pat. I'm still avoiding the smile lines as much as possible, and the chin. Then, with almost no product, swipe your nose. The bridge of my nose, and my nostrils are a bit wide. If your nose is smaller than mine, you can just give it a light sweep with barely any product, like you're hardly applying anything. Next, the philtrum. It looks a bit dull, doesn't it? With minimal product, just gently sweep. Again, avoid smile lines. With this makeup, you always have to use the remaining product well. That tiny bit applies a really fine, thin layer. Even with barely any product, some applied, right? The dullness has slightly faded. Now just blend out the outer edges. My skin has flared up so much lately. I sacrifice my skin a lot testing different things. I also have much to cover right now. However, when applying the first layer, don't focus on concealing. If you apply a lot at first thinking you need to cover everything, your skin just can't handle it. It'll just break down quickly, so for the very first layer, skip the areas that need to be thin and focus only on the areas that can handle a thicker application. After you've unified your skin tone with this first application, then for the second layer, you can focus on covering imperfections. When doing base makeup, we're always told, no matter the method, to apply it in thin layers, right? They tell you to apply it multiple times. If you just glob it on from the start, your makeup will quickly crumble if you have thin skin, wrinkles, or unhealthy skin like me. Alright, now apply a smaller amount than previously. Your makeup puff is already somewhat moist, isn't it? Since we applied the first layer, apply less for the second. And now, you can target the areas you need to cover. Thus, Focus on those specific areas where you need some extra coverage. I skipped my eye area as my dark circles are so prominent I must apply product carefully. If your dark circles aren't too severe, you can just lightly tap the area with the remaining product, similar to how you applied it to your philtrum. If they're quite dark, as mine are, I use just one finger to apply a small concentrated amount. Dab a little off, fold the puff, and then apply it just to the eye area. Fold it like this, targeting only the dark circles. My under eyes are quite red, so I'll lightly cover that area too. When you want a thin layer, you have to be gentle. If you press too hard, the pressure will squeeze out too much product from the puff, so be gentle. And then, your eyelids might seem a bit dull. Applying product there will just crease into your lid and clump with eyeshadow. So you should definitely avoid that specific spot. Just gently sweep it over the very top part of your eyelid, covering only that area lightly. It still helps to cover dullness. And what's the facial area that gets messiest? It's right beside the nostrils. This area is right next to the smile lines, which move a lot. It's also close to the mouth, so it's an area that moves a lot. And it's incredibly thin there. Your veins are quite visible. And my nostrils are wide, right? For those with wide nostrils, this area is larger. The crease is deep, so wider nostrils collect more product. So how should we apply it? Use a brush instead of a puff. Honestly, using a puff is difficult since it spreads to surrounding areas. The front cheeks and upper lip are thin, so product gets on these delicate areas. That's why I'm using a small brush to precisely target this area and apply it thinly. It doesn't need to be this specific one, but a dense brush like this. Just apply concealer or cushion foundation. When you first dip it, you get this much product. Now imagine putting all of this right here. It gets too thick and will cake in 2 hours, so use just a touch. It's vital to evenly control the brush's product amount like this. Once you've adjusted the amount, it comes out thinly. Now gently press and apply it to the skin. If you swipe, it might flake for those with dry skin. So to avoid causing any stress to the skin, just press gently, like you're comforting it. Today's concept is a quick makeup look, so I'm skipping concealer and just using cushion foundation for everything, gently pressing it in. See how cleanly that's covered? So for these areas that crease easily. For these thin skin areas, it's really important to use only the remaining product. Suppose you're really rushed and just apply it haphazardly. Then, you accidentally get too much product on your mouth or smile lines. What do? Flip the makeup puff over and push your middle finger into the cleaner side. The puff folds in half like this, then blend the heavily applied area. If you push it, it'll lift off. Don't wipe it, just use the puff to gently push it away. After blending it out, flip the puff back over and just neaten up the surrounding area like this. So next up we have blusher. You typically apply blusher to your cheeks first, don't you? Instead of only applying blusher to your cheeks, connect it to other areas of your face to make it look like a natural flush emanates from your entire face, which will make your makeup appear more harmonious and give it more depth. A natural flush isn't limited to just your cheeks. I'll switch to a smaller brush for the same blusher, but feel free to use the larger one if you're in a hurry. First, connect it to the nose bridge. No need to apply heavily. Keeping it subtle will look more natural and less awkward. When you apply blusher here, the color transition looks truly beautiful. It gives a blended look. And if you're thinking, I don't want my nose to look longer, well, I've always emphasized that you shouldn't use contouring powder on the bridge of your nose. Adding a dark shadow here emphasizes the length of your nose, so it can look longer. But if you apply blusher to the bridge of your nose like this, you get a subtle contouring effect without a dark shadow, so instead of making your nose look long, it actually fills in the space here. It has the effect of making your nose look a bit shorter while also making it look higher. So while you're applying blusher, just quickly connect it to the bridge of your nose at the same time. If you're in a hurry, you can just use the blusher brush like this. Also, a light touch on the tip of the nose to give a natural flush. For those who want to visually shorten their nose, you can just apply it in a straight line, but if the nose becomes too short, it might look upturned. For those who prefer a less emphasized length, applying it in a U shape will make your nose look defined without appearing overly short. So just apply a little in a U shape, but don't use too much or you'll end up looking like Rudolph, and connect it slightly to the eyelids. And the tip of the chin. See? With just blusher, doesn't the makeup look a bit more complete? It gives off an ethereal vibe, but overdoing it looks too obvious and strange. Just enough. Now for the contouring. When we do outer contouring, if the skin is tacky, the powder tends to smudge and clump, right? First, dip your brush into some setting powder. Use your usual setting powder and then dip it into the contouring powder. And then apply the contour. Because the brush has both setting powder and contouring powder on it, it's less likely to get patchy and will go on more smoothly. Also, doing both setting powder and contouring can sometimes be a bother, right? You might be short on time, so if you apply setting powder directly to your brush and then contour, you'll be done quicker and it'll be less streaky. Applying powder with the contour made it look more natural. Plus, less makeup comes off. Next, let's talk eyebrows. Your eyebrow color might not match your hair color. Maybe you find the color tricky, or some of you might find it hard because they look too drawn on and artificial. If you draw them in 3 steps, they'll look much more natural and be easier to do. You might be wondering, can't I just draw them perfectly with a pencil all at once? But actually, dividing it into 3 simple steps can make it much more manageable and quicker to finish. So first, use contouring powder. Dip a slightly clocky brush like this into it and just lightly sweep it across your entire brow. If you press too hard, it'll suddenly come out dark and make your eyebrows look awkward. So just apply it very gently. Contouring powder is often sheer, you know. So it's far easier since it won't be drawn on too dark. And when you're drawing your brows like this, it's good to use a brush that's a bit fluffy. Using a thin, flat brush from the beginning can be tricky as it creates too fine a line. A thin, flat brush is for when you need to do detailed work. In this first step, we're not aiming for precision, just adding overall fullness. So a soft brush is better. So use a slightly fluffy brush. I've lightly filled them in all over. Next, you'll draw with a brow pencil that's a shade lighter than your hair color. This one is an ashy brown without too much red in it. It's lighter than my hair, right? Use that lighter shade to fill your brows. However, to better accentuate the eyebrow hairs, I precisely sharpened the pencil tip with a craft knife, making it fine and pointed. Next, I'll promptly fill in the empty sections. It is significantly simpler to draw with a sharpened point like this rather than using a blunt tip. Now for the third and final step, we'll use a dark color. You know your natural brow hair color, right? Simply match it to that shade. I opted for this charcoal color, a dark gray hue. Even if I dyed my brows, you'll see my roots make them look dark. I'm matching it to this darker color. You should match it to your own natural brow color. For step 3, the color must be this dark. There are areas with no hair, right? Like where you should have brow hairs but they don't grow. For those spots and any really sparse areas, you'll go over them one last time with the dark color. I also trimmed it thinly with a blade. For the dark color, you simply need to lightly fill in only the truly sparse areas. If you use it all over, your brows will get too dark. So just add a little bit to the empty spots like this. This fills sparse areas, keeping brows from being too dark. If you're truly pressed for time, quickly shade them with contouring powder first, then use just one pencil to swiftly sketch them. If you're rushed, let's do eye makeup. I'll apply contouring eyeshadow. For this, I'll be utilizing these 2 contouring shades. On the opposite side, please make sure to apply the base color. With the side that has the contouring shade, add some depth to the crease area. Then, just flip it. The base is already there, right? So use that to blend it out. When you're in a rush, eyeshadow can get patchy, right? When you need a gradient, just put a base shadow on the other side of the brush. Apply the contouring shade first, and then blend it out with the base shadow. That gives you a perfect gradient. This method is super easy and gets it done faster. And now for the eyeliner. You know how when you're drawing your eyeliner, sometimes it's not enough and you need to add more? When you're short on time and need to apply makeup quickly, if you try to touch up with eyeliner, while not all products are like this, due to the hardening properties of eyeliner, layering it on can often lead to flaking or clumping. It can become powdery and detach or simply peel off. So when correcting eyeliner, use eyeshadow rather than liner. I'll be using a dark eyeshadow, much like an eyeliner. Specifically, I'm opting for dark espresso. The brush is the Picasso 407. It's a tiny brush, perfect for eyeliner, making it easy to draw and fix. See, you fix it with eyeshadow like this. The eyeliner gets coated again with eyeshadow, preventing smudging and making corrections much easier. And you have to make sure your eyeliner is completely dry before you do this. If you do it while it's still wet, it might flake off. Next, for lashes that are hard to curl with a lash curler and full quickly, I genuinely recommend a heated eyelash curler. It's far safer than using a lighter and just pleasantly warm, not too hot, so it works great. Make sure to thoroughly curl even the inner corners. You just warm the very roots for around 2 seconds, then gently press and gradually pull it away from your lashes. If it won't curl, then 4 seconds. And then press while you pull away. They'll get a really nice lift, and using a partial curler is even better. For those whose lashes really won't curl, you can skip the big curler and just use a partial one for everything. You just do it all with this. This partial curler applies a bit more force, so it curls much better. So if your lashes are stubborn, I highly recommend a partial curler. Next is mascara. To avoid a messy application when you put on mascara, just applying it horizontally isn't a good idea. First, you should apply it horizontally all over, promptly wiping away any clumps as you go. For any areas that aren't coated, you should apply with the very tip of the mascara wand in this manner. You can't just apply it horizontally, you have to apply it vertically. Applying it in an upward individual stroke motion helps lift even the shortest lashes. You apply it lash by lash, holding the wand vertically, really focusing on getting each individual lash. My eyelashes are actually really sparse, and I have some empty spots here and there. But when you're in a hurry, you can't put on falsies, right? So you look straight ahead and focus on applying it until you can see those lashes. You simply apply it with your eyes open, specifically targeting the areas where your lash density is sparser. Then, your eyelashes will come alive. Now, we'll move on to the lips. Those finding overlined lips tricky. Just go 1 millimeter above your natural lip line. Overdoing it by going too far can make you look like Hongdu K, so just 1 millimeter is enough. Just 1 millimeter from your natural lip line. That tiny difference can really change your look, so you don't need to suddenly expand your lips to overline them. Just draw 1 millimeter. I went a little too much. Even with just this subtle overlining, my lips appear noticeably thicker when viewed from afar. You have to check from far away. You could suddenly get cartoon lips, so it's not hard if you just overline a tiny bit at a time. And for the outer edges of your bottom lip, you know those parts? If you draw the line too far downward, your lips might suddenly appear quite droopy. This part will look like it's drooping. So it's not good to go too far into this area. It can make your lips look too heavy. Of course, if you like that plump look, then you can go for it. Everyone has different tastes. But what if you don't want your lips to look too heavy or droopy? Then you shouldn't overline these outer corners too much. In the center, come down about 1 millimeter, and for the very corners, just start from your natural lip line. You're just connecting it. I brought the center down about 1 millimeter, right? Don't draw this part down, just blend it from your natural lip line. This is a technique to make your lip corners seem more upturned. Next, don't just leave the edges. Use some lip liner to lightly fill in the inner parts too. If only the edges are colored, the makeup's overall quality can appear diminished. So softly fill in the inner part too, then using your finger or a brush, blend it in. I just drew it a mere millimeter over, yet they appear thicker than my natural lips. Feel like it's not enough? Then you can just go another millimeter over from there. You have to go 1 millimeter at a time to avoid overdoing it. So everyone, today I showed you a few tips from base makeup to lips. Did you enjoy it? Of course, when you're super busy and stressed, you might not always be able to follow these methods. But if you keep them in mind and try them when you do your makeup, the quality will be significantly enhanced. Let's banish our makeup stress with haeni. Thank you also very much for watching this video today. Isn't it super dry with the change of seasons? Drink lots of water and avoid staring at your phone too much since your eyes will get dry. Let's all take good care of our health. We'll meet again in the next video. Thank you so much.